It is Friday, February the 19th, so let's jump into my news radar. Don't forget, everything on this channel is community driven. Please take a second to consider supporting the channel by clicking join down below or becoming a patron on Patreon. Another month, another Surface Duo update that maybe doesn't do quite as much as we were hoping for. So just the other day, the February update for the Surface Duo did in fact roll out. It was a little bit of a mystery at first because it was rather lightweight, only like 60 to 70 megabytes, which is not very large at all, especially when considering, this last update was more than 10 times that size, if I'm remembering correctly. Brought a lot more to the table than this one does. And of course, there was no change log for several days. So a lot of us downloaded this update and were playing with our phones and maybe not really seeing a massive difference. In fact, look, this is anecdotal, but I put out this tweet and asked if anyone could tell anything different post-update, and several people said no. We have some anecdotal reports of perhaps better touch response in the keyboard and things like that. Personally, I still have experienced absolutely nothing. Some of the things that have been super irritating haven't really changed for me. For instance, the delay when you go home in phone mode, when you swipe up, you get this weird pause and then everything reappears. That did not get fixed, which is a little bit insane to me. That got me wondering, look, is this just a security patch? Android releases monthly security updates. Is this all that is? Is it just a security update and there's no new features? Well, we now do know for sure what is going on with this update because they finally did put out a change log, and it says, for one, it is a security update. 2, improves UI stability, and then improves single tap touch experience. Every once in a blue moon, as they say, I will do something where I will touch the screen and it will think I've long pressed when I've only just tapped the screen. So maybe they're addressing these sorts of things. It very rarely happens at this point. Perhaps that is what is being addressed. I'd love to know from you guys what you have experienced. Have you had any improvement with your experience with your Surface Duo post-February update? Let me know in the comments down below if you can tell any difference at all. I'd also love to know if this will affect anyone's battery life at all. I know a lot of you guys talked about having reduced battery life after the January update. That's something I experienced myself, but people out there were talking about it. Let me know if your battery life does change at all after this update. I would love to know. Also, keep in mind that as I've reported here a couple of times already, the Android 11 update is probably being targeted for summer. So we're at February now, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So at the most, 7 more months, which will put it firmly in the timeline that Android 12 will already be released while we're getting Android 11. But whatever, look, you can't be too negative about these things. At least we're going to get the update at some point. When you buy a weird phone like this, stuff like this does happen as Microsoft ramps up their Android development. Hopefully this will get better. So speaking of weird phones that in this case didn't stand the test of time in some ways, do you guys remember the Essential brand, the Essential phone from back in the day? This was a pretty interesting phone. It was started by the co-founder of Android, Andy Rubin, and he basically wanted to make his own phone, his own way. And this thing came out in 2017. It was one of the first phones with a notch like that for the camera cutout. Now, it's got a chin, but these bezels were quite narrow. The Essential phone had a lot of really interesting ideas. You can see here a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner, but also these strange little connectors back here, which allowed them to connect to it these modules like a 360 camera and things like that. And in general, it just had a really nice build of Android, a really stripped down kind of lightweight build of Android. And it got a lot of updates and it became a pretty solid phone, especially as the price came down. Essential then moved on to try to make this thing, Project Jim, which is a phone that I would never buy because I hate tall, narrow screens and it looks like a TV remote. But Essential was trying to do really unique, really different things before, unfortunately, they closed their doors. So why am I talking about the Essential phone? Well, Carl Pei, one of the guys who co-founded OnePlus, one of my favorite brands that maybe has slightly lost their way over the last few years, has started his own company. He's left OnePlus and he started a company called Nothing. All we know about Nothing so far is kind of nothing at this point, but we do now know that they have acquired Essential. So now they own all of Essential's patents and basically everything that Essential encompassed. So add in that nothing appears to be working on a set of wireless headphones that may be out later this year, and then the fact that Essential was working on its own home smart hub and speaker. It just is gonna add to the hardware expertise of Carl Pei's Nothing brand, and it should be really interesting because Essential was a really forward-thinking, kind of unique, creative brand, and Carl Pei, with the earlier days of OnePlus, showed that off as well. And this new Nothing brand, paired with some of the know-how at Essential and some of the patents, some of the ideas that they had there, could make for a really interesting combination. And the last bit of news I want to touch today is the fact that Samsung is making a rather strange move in regards to their smartwatch devices. For many years, Samsung has not used Wear OS, which is Android's operating system for smartwatches, instead going with their own in-house operating system called Tizen. Well, apparently that is going to end for reasons I cannot quite understand. Samsung is going to drop Tizen and go with Android Wear OS is the actual name I believe now, on the next Galaxy Watch. In order to do that, they're going to put their own One UI skin over Android Wear, which might make it look a lot more like Tizen OS already looked. Now, obviously, it'll be a point of preference as to whether or not you think this is a good thing, but in my experience, unless they've got some really high-end chips in there, look, maybe this will work just fine. Tizen was a little bit more lightweight, so the battery life tended to be pretty good. For me, one of the most important things on a smartwatch is battery life and performance. I don't want it getting in the way, lagging. I don't want it going dead before a day is over or even really at a day. I want it to last multiple days. I don't have to keep taking the thing off to charge it. Tizen is going to be better at doing that than Wear OS. Makes me wonder if Google's not putting some pressure on Samsung like they have in the past to stop doing their own things and to start doing the more Google things in order to keep being part of the Google ecosystem. Really interesting move. You may like it, you may not like it. I just thought it was a strange thing to do because Tizen has been their OS on their smartwatches for so long, and they've had so much success with that OS. I'd love to know what would spur this kind of move so late in the game, going from an established and liked OS on your smartwatches to Wear OS, which has really started to come into its own over the last year or so, but is still not thought of very highly from a lot of people. Let me know what you think. Would you rather have a Tizen OS watch, or are you happy to see them go to Wear OS? So guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back for my next news radar every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.